Pick your profession for Shadowlands. As casuals, we don't often engage in professions, or at the very least I have not so far deeply in World of Warcraft, but Shadowlands introduces quite significant changes to professions, making them very, very useful even for us casuals who generally don't bother. So in this video I'd like to offer you my logic of how I am going to select a profession for myself, with an overview of all key and most impactful professions in Shadowlands. Please stick around and enjoy the guide. Crafting professions have undergone some significant changes for Shadowlands expansion, which makes them useful and attractive once again and worth our while to invest time and interest into as casual players who mostly play solo. As a very high-level preview of what we'll be discussing, we see a return of consumable armor kits, sharpening stones, gliders, armor enchantments, and addition of completely new and exciting mechanics and cross-profession synergies, such as the ability for crafters to create optional reagents and base items that will be turned into Shadowlands legendaries, with the help of yet another system portrayed by the NPC called the Rune Carver. Optional reagents sound like an extension of an already fairly diverse revamped crafting system that we'd add to crafting recipes and further customize crafted items in a variety of rather cool sounding ways, such as increasing your chance to level up while crafting something. Finally, blacksmiths and leatherworkers can even craft item level 100 weapons. That's right, as early green recipes. And I hope there will be upgrades to those weapon crafting recipes as we level up further, but I didn't get a chance to personally experience that myself yet. So basically, TLDR, professions are looking to be very useful. You need professions. In this video, I'd like to offer my semi-educated review of what sticks out to me as the most casually impactful changes to the professions in World of Warcraft, sharing with you how I'll be picking a profession for my two main alts, BM Hunter and my Warlock. And I hope that it will help you make up your own minds. Semi-educated in this context means simply that I don't pretend to be an expert, and I only use this platform to share my own findings and what makes me excited about professions in Shadowlands. I always welcome corrections and opinions from you guys, so don't be shy. As long as you're respectful and constructive, these policies are not negotiable around here. Please use the table of contents and the timestamps added to the timeline of this video and the description below, as otherwise it might be too lengthy for you to sit through the whole duration of me ranting to you. And please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if this seems like your cup of tea and your type of place. So first of all, how and where do you primarily level professions in Shadowlands? There is an area called Hall of Shapes, where you'll find all the crafters and crafting reagent vendors in Oribos, a central city of the whole of Shadowlands. Other than leveling up any profession by simply collecting the required reagents and crafting whatever you're into, the cheapest to make items will obviously go first, there is a new system of journals that can drop from all sorts of sources as you quest through Shadowlands zones, and that will allow you to increase your profession level by 5 once a week. Maybe because I'm not a hardcore profession guy, I already have a full-time job, thanks very much. To me, this doesn't seem like a particularly generous thing of Blizzard to introduce, and I imagine that having that cooldown lowered to be able to use a journal once a day would be probably okay, but maybe they're not, I don't know. Plus 5 profession levels once a week, I guess we'll have to work with that, my friends. The most interesting and worthy of discussion change or addition to the professional landscape of Shadowlands is without a doubt the ability to create those base items for legendary crafting. Only tailoring, leatherworking, blacksmithing and jewelcrafting can create those base items. Those items have 4 different ranks apparently that basically change the item level of the legendary item base that you are crafting. This information I had to dig out on Wowhead, so I'm not pretending to have tested it in depth myself, and encourage you to take it with a grain of salt as things still might change on live servers. So those 4 ranks appear to stretch from base item level of 190 all the way to what appears to be quite massive at the moment as item level 235. For your comparison, and based on my early exploration of Shadowlands beta, normal blue dungeon rewards at level 60 give you items of item level 158, and your fully upgraded legendary cloak from BFA would sit at item level 155. This should give you quite a good idea of how powerful or relatively relevant those craftable items will be in Shadowlands endgame. We'll probably save the coverage of rune cover system and crafting of legendaries for a different video, when I had a chance to explore this a little closer and share my personal opinions, rather than rely heavily on data-mined Wowhead information or what the other creators have shared with us all to date. Instead, we'll go into very quick and high-level discussion of what professions are worth your while in Shadowlands, in my humble opinion. So, professions I will seriously consider. Put simply, it's only those professions that can create those base items that we just discussed, and optionally, the key one that contributes heavily to creation of those items. So, the initial list of my options looks like this to me. Blacksmithing, Jewelcrafting, Leatherworking, Tailoring, no surprises there. Honorable mentions obviously go to the professions that I'm not considering due to this simple selection priority system. So I am not considering personally alchemy, herbalism, inscription and engineering. As you noticed, I'm not mentioning enchanting here, because we'll get back to that later when we talk about tailoring. Putting these lists together reminds me of one of my early videos where I was expressing my thoughts on how I'd choose a main for Shadowlands, where I basically said, if it's not a tank, I'm not interested. Sure, that was a little limiting and possibly short-sighted, but I have to say that at the moment I feel similarly about those professions that would not let me create armor, or something that I'll heavily rely on in Shadowlands. To bother leveling any of these professions, you need to be able to say that majority of your alts would benefit from that profession, and base items that it would create. This goes without saying, but again I have to spell it out because I'm only sharing my personal opinions here. It means that your choice trims down to either jewel crafting, that appears to be universally useful, but I personally don't know all that much about it, or the profession that produces items of your armor type. I will also mention that as money tends to solve most of the problems in the real world and in the World of Warcraft 2, I am deliberately not considering the source of materials by purchasing those on the auction house. I am not. That would trivialize and detract from the value of the rest of this guide, I think. I choose to see us as self-reliant casuals, who mostly rely on our own efforts to level up and progress in any profession we'll be choosing here today. So let's go through the list and start with blacksmithing. Other than the obvious ability of blacksmiths to make plate armor, blacksmiths will also be able to make some new consumables, sharpening stones and weight stones to attach to a respective weapon family and adding attack power. Blacksmithing heavily relies on mining and smelting of the ore, which is its biggest flaw in my opinion. In this process one would need to go far out of their way to obtain that ore in the first place, often competing with the other players for the spawning ore nodes. But I'm saying this partially relying on my ancient exposure to mining in Wrath of the Lich King expansion, when I used to fly on my mount around Icecrown looking for Saronite, iron ore nodes. But maybe Blizzard has improved this system a little to make it more accessible to other ore farmers, I'm not entirely sure. So just with this element of it alone, from my perspective, first of all, I do not have any plate wearers who will be my primary alts. I used to zero in and have my eyes on an Unholy Decay, as a pre-planned main, but as you would have seen in my recent videos, I think DK will have to wait quite a while for his turn. And the second point here is that I am an unapologetically lazy and chilling casual when it comes to World of Warcraft. So I just don't want to go far out of my way to farm those ore nodes all over the place. I want my crafting materials to come my way naturally, as I progress through questing in the game, for example, if it's at all possible. This alone takes blacksmithing off my personal list of a profession choice. Jewelcrafting, a profession that, like I said, I know the least about. Comparable to probably only, I don't know, inscription that I've barely scratched the surface of either. And before you tell me, Gyro, why are you even commenting on those two then? It's because, my friend, it's a guide told from a perspective of an average Joe or Jane casual who also has no idea and bases their decision on similar facts that I'm offering you here. So what do I think about jewel crafting? Put simply, I think it's among the most useful and awesome professions that, if leveled up right, can feed, so to speak, your whole army of alts with the appropriate gear for what's often the hardest to fill item slots, necks and 2 rings. Unfortunately for the trinkets, we'll have to go find a scribe or get a lucky drop, but you get my overall drift here, I hope. Everyone needs necks and rings, is all what I'm saying. In Shadowlands, jewel crafters will be able to prospect essences that will be used in crafting recipes for legendary items, which will give jewel crafters even an extra opportunity to make some money on the auction house, other than obviously selling gems. But just like with blacksmithing, you know it was going there. Jewel crafters will have to heavily rely on mining and prospecting of the ore. As I've already spoken about that, I really honestly, guys, cannot be bothered riding around, especially in a non-flying world. We can't fly from node to node, trying to find those nodes. As you can see, at the very least from what I've experienced in Shadowlands Beta, they are scarce, they are not close to each other, it's really hard to find them, and they don't offer plentiful supply of that ore. So no, 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 no. As opposed to blacksmithing, however, I will definitely, I think, revisit jewel crafting once we can fly in Shadowlands. Yep, far into patch 2, it would be 9.2, 9.3 of the expansion probably, but it's on my radar, just not for now. Now let's talk about leatherworking and tailoring, with a focus on leatherworking first. I'm speaking about both of those professions together, as ultimately the choice comes down to these two, for me personally. I have mail, leather and cloth wearers among my primary alts, main alts that will go first to level 60, and who knows how long I'll be stuck with those two in the end game. This is where I'm really looking forward to be surprised by Blizzard, as that's the part of the Shadowlands beta end game that I've left out deliberately unexplored, because I didn't want to spoil myself through and through. Both of these professions can craft legendary base items, which is once again meeting the entry criteria into my list and is a massive tick from me. Both of these also obtain crafting materials sort of automatically, as you go along questing, killing mobs, skinning beasts in one case, while for tailoring it's even a little bit easier and you just need to collect cloth from the humanoids that you kill. It honestly doesn't get much easier than that in this game, and it's very attractive to me as a chilling casual. Leatherworking can create armor kits that are temporarily, apparently not permanently, offering you stamina value buffs that you can apply to armor pieces. And most importantly, leatherworking profession is massively more useful to many alcoholics like myself, because it produces both leather armor and mail armor, so I can equip my Beastmaster Hunter main and my slightly trailing behind Demon Hunter. Leatherworking can also, according to Wowhead at least, make weapons in Shadowlands. Seriously, fist and ranged weapons. I read about it on Wowhead and then I discovered it in beta, as the footage behind shows you guys. So it's like, how can it get any better, honestly? Like, it's just, oh my god. Tailoring, aside from making legendary base items too, is useful obviously in making bags and bandages to self-heal the classes that don't have a readily available self-heal, such as hunters. As I already said, the cloth comes from the mobs we kill, so that is kind of an auto supply of crafting ingredients, which sounds amazing to a lazy altoholic like myself. And if we also take up enchanting, which is worth mentioning at the very least very quickly here, we can naturally disenchant our own greens, whatever we don't need, creating lots of useful crafting materials, and we can disenchant crafted items that we've simply created as throwaway to level up our other trade skills. So that is fantastic, don't you think? Plus, enchanting always goes hand in hand, like, you know, butter and bread with tailoring. It's just what has been happening in World of Warcraft for many years, and it makes me excited to possibly tip my toes into that once again and do the same. So to quickly summarize, for me, the choice of professions is going to be down to leatherworking as tailoring, as I already said, accompanied by skinning and enchanting. Both crafting professions will give my main BM hunter and alt something to wear, and even weapons in case of leatherworking. I like feeling self-reliant and efficient as an altoholic. For the first time in many years, I will feel like that in Shadowlands, and it might just make it worth my while leveling a couple of those professions and reap all the benefits. And this is the end of the guide for today, my friends. I hope it made sense to you and I hope it resonated with you. Please let me know as always in the comments down below if it did. What profession are you going to be choosing in Shadowlands? Has this convinced you to pick up a profession, or are you going to be skipping on those like I did over the previous years? Is it not enough of an incentive for you to become a professional crafter? I certainly will be playing as a crafter in Shadowlands, and I'm very excited about that perspective, as the rest of this guide probably transparently suggested to you. Anyway, I really enjoyed putting together this guide for you. I hope you did too. If you did, please give it a like. YouTube algorithm loves this kind of stuff, and as they say these days, your vote counts. It actually really does. Subscribe if you haven't already. The growth of the channel has been amazing, really motivating for me, and hopefully entertaining for you. I'll see you around. Videos are being released twice a week and will continue to do so. See you later. Talk to you soon.